Hello, welcome back to another episode at More Television Network. I'm your guest host, Colette Martin. Today we're going to be talking to an author. Her name is Nadia Davis, and we're super excited to see what she's about, the books that she's written. So let's go ahead and get started and let her in. Hello, Nadia.
Hello, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Good. Very good. Very good. It's so nice to see you, meet with you, talk to you. Welcome to More Television Network. Like I was saying, I'm the guest host for Dr. Moore. So I'm super excited to talk to you about your journey, what you've been doing, and everything else.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. So tell us, Nadia, who is Nadia? Who is Nadia? Basically.
Um, well, I am Nadia. Um, that's a start. I am Nadia. Um, and so professionally, I am an author. I am, prior to being an author, I was or still am an advocate. Um, uh, and prior to the advocacy, or how I got into the advocacy, that started through mental health. Um, so I'm a mental health professional and an advocate. And my mental health work and advocacy is mostly in the criminal justice and court system. And so, right. And a lot of people go, oh my God. So, mental health and advocacy in the criminal justice system. And that's mostly, oh, well, not mostly, all I've done is mental health and advocacy in the criminal justice and court systems, um, in the prison system, jail system. So working with mental health clients or mental health patients who happen to get caught up in the criminal justice system, who at some point been arrested. Um, and so they're either in jail or in prison or recently released, and kind of helping them navigate that system. So either I'm going in, well, at some point, my office was in the prison. Um, so once I got released from that, after about 10 years of doing that, then I had a job where I was going in. So I was having to go in and do daily visits or going to court and whatever. And so basically, it's helping people navigate that system. And so that's kind of how the book came about, because you learn quickly that families and the clients themselves have no idea what their rights are, who their advocates are, who can help them. Um, just they're unfamiliar with the system at all. And because they have any type of, and it's not just mental health people at all. Let's clear that up. It's not just mental health clients or mental health patients or people within the criminal justice system have no idea what their rights are, who their advocates are, what the laws are, what they can do, what they cannot do, what they should be receiving at all. And nobody is trying to tell them, wants to tell them, because from the time they walk through that door, from the time they're detained, from the time they whatever, you're a criminal. Or that's the mindset. You're a criminal. But I don't have to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you. I don't have to tell you anything. And so if you don't know your rights already, if you don't know, if you're not trying to find out yourself, nobody's trying to tell you. And so that's kind of how, um, I got to where I am.
Okay. All right. Where are you located?
I actually I was born and raised in Louisiana, and I'm currently in Texas.
Okay, good, good. Well, welcome. Obviously, welcome to Texas. I'm not a native Texan. I'm from New York. So, we all arrived here in Texas from one
Right,
way or another. We're here. So,
right.
welcome, obviously. Um, so, if I heard you talk about, I mean, the work that you did obviously is amazing. I mean, I don't know too many people who, you know, are have enough, I would say enough information to do what you did, and continue the work, because it's well needed. And, like you said, when they go in, they have no real knowledge of their rights unless someone tells them. And like you said, once the doors close, you're a criminal, and that's just the way it is. Even if you're innocent, and you say, well, innocent people don't. Yes, they do. Innocent people
Right.
do go to prison. So what you're doing or what you've done, I think that's amazing, and we want to congratulate you on that. And I heard you say author. That's the first thing. How did you go from, working within the prison system and being an advocate for um, people who have been institutionalized to being an author?
Well, two things. First of all, let me say, in the American criminal justice system, you are innocent until proven guilty. So until you go in front of a judge and they bang the gavel and say you're guilty, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
However, it doesn't work that way because we know that people, once you're arrested, you sit in jail until
Mhm.
until they bang the gavel and say guilty or innocent. Typically, it works that way unless you can afford bail.
Mhm.
Um, so um, you know that there's that. Um, so I started researching because you know I was wondering, people would say, well, this happened to me or this happened to me. So my degrees are in psychology. And so I had all of this mental health knowledge. And I knew that a lot of the mental health where people were going to jail and would be there for weeks before they would get their medication. And, you know, um, a few years here back, long story, but we know that a few years, when funding was lost and a lot of mental health institutions closed, well, then people were just kind of gathered up and there was nowhere for them to go. So they started being arrested. And so then they would go to jail. Well, then there was no funding. So even though they were in jail, there's no funding. So there's no medications and then blah, 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 blah. And so then, these people were sitting in jail. And so I just started doing research and reading. And then I'm like, well, I knew a lot more about the juvenile system than I knew about the adult prison system, and so I had to do all this research. And I'm like, well, I can't go visit everybody. I can't go. I can only see the millions of people on my caseload, and I'm already overloaded. So then I started doing all this research and like, well, how can I get the information to more people? So I'm like, okay, well, once I get all the information, and then I had all these papers that I had written and all this other stuff. So I just started kind of compiling the information, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll write a book eventually. And so over the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, I just have been compiling information until I compiled it, and then I organized it, and then I condensed it. And so eventually I was able to get it to where I could make sense of it
Mhm.
and put it together to write a book to try to get the information to where it made sense to me, where it will make sense to other people. Um, and so that was the point, to get the info, to put it where I could get it to as many people as possible to, for, to get it out there.
Okay, so what's the title of the book?
So the title of the book is, oh Lord, this is my copy. So the title of the book is Seeds in the Mud.
Here, let me pull you forward so our viewers can see it. Okay.
The title of it is Seeds in the Mud. And so the book it's a kind of short read. It's a quick read, but it starts with, in the beginning, it kind of talks about Black history a bit. Not really Black history. Let me start that over. So it's American history in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
because it talks about how people were stolen from Africa and brought to America,
Mm-hmm.
and how slavery started. And I start there because it talks, that little slavery Civil War era actually talks about that tells how the prison system started. And I kind of feel like if you don't understand how the prison system started, you won't understand where we are now with the prison system. And so a lot of people were asking, well, why is it like this? Well, why do they do this? And I thought, well, if you don't understand how things started, you won't understand why it's like it is now. And so I thought a good starting point was like right at that Civil War, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, kind of right before that, when things kind of transformed from slavery into the prison system, because kind of how it happened. And so it kind of starts there. So that's American history. And it goes into the prison system. And then it kind of tells how things kind of happen from there. So there's a little American history, which is that little Ronald Reagan and that Contra stuff going on in there in the middle in the early 80s. And then we get more into the kind of what is the grand jury, the difference between the grand jury and a normal jury, because a lot of people think the grand jury is the same as a regular 12-person jury, and no, sir, it's not. Um, so, a lot of things that may be common knowledge to me or someone else, it's not common knowledge to the people who should actually know it, the people who are involved in the system. And so I kind of try to break those things down and say, hey, you're involved in the system, this is what you should know. And just some of those little tidbits. And that's what's in the book. And I think, it would be great for teenagers or young, if you're driving, it's, some of that, hey, if you get pulled over by the cop, this is what you should say, this is what you shouldn't say, this is what you absolutely have to say. All that extra, please don't say it. This is what you do, this is what you have to do. The end. So that's what's there.
Okay, yeah, and that's very important, especially right now and what's happening here in America. Because I have a young adult son and now a soon to be driver. And
Right.
I tell them all the time the conversations are different from one household to the other based on culture. And I tell them, make sure that you're, here in Texas, we don't have to have it. For those of you who are, for our viewers or listeners, you don't have to have your hard copy of your insurance. You can have it on your phone if you live in the state of Texas. So,
Right.
screenshot that, have the app, and you can show it to them. If you are in a state where you have to have the hard copy, I said just keep it in your up there on your dashboard.
Right.
Back in the day, I used to see my dad have it on his visor. So just have it in a place where it's visible already, just in case. You're not reaching down, you're not trying to pull anything out, you're not leaning over. It's right there, it's accessible, you can see it, they can see it. Why add more to the already damaging situation? Just have it available. Here you go. It's right here. So that's what I constantly remind them of, just in case that situation happens. But
Right.
that's good to know that, yes, someone out there is actually helping our youth, helping our young adults, helping our adults understand what's going on with this particular system, and the things to look for and things to do and not do. So I commend you on that one. Thank you. Have you written any other types of books, genres, things like that?
No, so actually, this is my first book, and um, a lot of people
Okay.
are asking, yeah, about like nonfiction. No, that's no.
Okay.
I don't have the imagination or anything for that. Like I'm so into like
Reality.
yeah, crime, right? Like no. And so I'm working on because I was working on a curriculum to go along with this. And so in the process, working on the curriculum and the second book that with more of the laws and the rights. So the second book is more of rights and responsibilities. Because I think a lot of times it's still going into court. A lot of times we assume that well, I didn't know. I didn't know is not a viable defense.
Mm, mm,
There's no judge or lawyer, especially in the states of Louisiana and Texas. I've never been in court outside of Louisiana and Texas. I spend my time in court in Louisiana and Texas. In the state of Louisiana and Texas, I've never been in court, and although I hear it at least once a day, I've never heard a judge except from juvenile or adult. I didn't know as a viable defense.
yeah, no.
That is the quickest way to irritate a judge
Hmm.
is to say, "Well, I didn't know." That is not a viable defense.
Mm.
So it is up to you, mom, dad, to teach your child. It is up to you, Mr. Whoever, Mrs. Ma'am, to learn the laws of the land.
Hmm.
If you're driving, also, when you sign whatever documents you sign to get a driver's license, you're saying, I agree to a sobriety test whenever I'm pulled over if Mr. Sir asks me for this. You're saying there's so much you're agreeing to. So in different states, those laws are different. But read the fine print. Like when you're signing these papers because you're in a hurry, because you got to get back to work, because you're on your lunch break, take the extra 10 minutes and read the fine print. Because you are signing things saying, hey, I agree to this. I agree to you are signing, you are agreeing, you're giving consent. So be aware of what you're signing.
And most people don't. We,
It's
you know, I,
implied.
yeah, and I say this all the time. You look at people, like in the stores, and there's like the line says, big sign says line forms here. And then you have people on the other side. And it's like reading is a powerful thing in life. You've got to
Right,
do it. I mean, no matter where you go, you have to read. And I think
right,
just in human, I don't know, just as we are as humans, we fail to read the fine print. It's like it
right,
doesn't exist. It's too small. We don't want to read it. We ignore it. We go, oh yeah, whatever. I agree. But when we're faced with the situation, like you said, and you don't know because you didn't read it.
right.
And that's why
Well,
reading was so important in school. You read to understand and not just read it. And
right.
most people do that. They just read, they don't understand.
Yep.
And it comes a time in your life where you have to learn to read to understand what you're signing, what you have signed up for. And we ignore that. We totally ignore that. And it's like, okay, so you said you didn't know, but you signed it. You didn't read it because it was too small or you didn't have time, but you're telling me you didn't know, but you signed it.
And so, so funny. So my oldest child is 20, and we were talking maybe just yesterday, day before yesterday, about plea bargains.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so many people, approximately 80% of criminal cases in the United States are settled with plea bargains. And I was explaining to her, read everything, blah, blah, blah. And so I was saying, so many people are innocent that sign these plea bargains, but people are afraid that they may get 20 to life if they go in front of a jury, or different reasons that people will accept a plea bargain. But, if maybe half of those people would just go in front of or even request a trial, the probability of just the probability, just the math of it all. And so we had a long debate about that or whatever. But I was saying they signed the paper because the lawyer comes in and say, hey, you signed this, I'll get you out of here tomorrow. You've been in here for 3 months, you signed this paper, I'll get you out of here tomorrow. And we talked about it forever. And I said, but they don't even read it. They just sign the paper just based upon, Mr. Henry, whoever, and they go on, not realizing you just signed because you're coming back to jail. Because whatever you sign, you can't live up to these conditions.
No.
You can't live up to those conditions. And probation for 10 years, I can't live up to that. I'm gonna get a ticket. I can't live up to those conditions. And so, they come back or whatever the case may be, but you have to read we don't want to read.
No.
We don't want to take the time. Just take a little time and read what it's saying. Like, read the paper. Just read the paper.
And
And
go ahead.
it comes back to a situation of, well, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't read, or you won't read,
Yeah.
or you wouldn't ask questions, or you were afraid to ask questions, or you were afraid to ask for clarification, or you read the paper. And that's the same with this. Like, I've explained to people, like, what's in here. Look at the table of contents. How many people are like, well, it'll be all right until they go to jail. And then, like, they're sending me messages on Facebook. Well, how do I, not answering that question. Well, my son is, this is not free legal help. One, I'm not a lawyer. But two, try to get you to buy a book,
Yeah. And ironically, it's funny because we're in a society that lives and breathes messages, whether it's on Twitter, just saying, putting that out there, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever platform you use, they're constantly reading it. However, when it pertains to something that matters in your life, something that can change your life, something that will decide your life, we don't want to read
your
it.
life.
Yeah,
right.
We don't want to read it. We ignore it.
Right.
We say, oh, it's good. I'll sign it. It's good. But if it's on Snapchat or if it's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, we are into this. Oh, did you hear? Did you read that? Did you read that? Did you read that?
It's terrible.
Yeah, right. It's somebody else's business.
Right.
But when it comes to your business,
right,
we don't want to read it. It's not going to affect me. Well,
right.
Yeah, that's why they're telling you to sign it. Did you ever think about that? That's why they're telling you to sign it, because it does impact you as a human being, as an individual, and we ignore it. It's like we're so in tune to what's happening with everybody else's business, but when it comes to ours and trying to make that decision, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's weird. Just totally weird to me.
Or when you think about, we're all in tune to the murders, or the cop and this person, and here's this information like, okay, well, this is what you can do to empower your child or your brother or your dad, or you, because it's happening to women too, or this is what you can do to empower your circle. Like, man, put it on Facebook or do this, but it's really weird. It's
Yeah.
weird the things that we, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're, most of us are wired completely different to a point where, and I don't even know, I don't have the skills, knowledge, or education to say it, but I am, because I was an educator and I see the younger version of it. We're so into not wanting to deal with our own issues that we think that the issues of other people are much more exciting, much more important than our own.
Right.
And that's like just crazy. I mean, no, it should come, your life is important. You should do everything you can to educate yourself, everything you can to make sure that you understand your rules, your laws, and everything that needs to go on with you as a person before trying to dig deep into the life of someone you don't even know. I mean,
Right.
it's like we try to avoid what's happening in our life because we don't want to deal with it, and we only deal with it when something bad happens.
Right.
And
Because if we avoid it, then it's not there. If we don't look at it, if we're not talking about it, then, or if we're not looking at it, it's or if we're not talking about it, it's not happening. We can pretend that it's not happening. So, and if I focus on your problem, then my problem isn't a problem.
yeah.
So I can go along acting like, people actually go to therapy for that. I can go along acting like my problem, as long as I don't talk about it. It's that thing like, the old people, just we'll say the old people, what happens in this house stays in this house. We don't talk about that. And up until, somebody commits suicide, and you don't talk about that either, or, somebody molested somebody and you never mention that. We don't talk about it. It never happened. That never happened. And so to grandma, um, literally, it never happened.
Yeah.
And so that's that thing. That's that curse. And I call it that. It's the curse. And so that's something that, and I talk to my children about all the time, that's something that we as a people, as a culture, have to get away from, because that's literally something that it's a curse. As long as we're not talking about things, we can't heal from them.
Okay.
And those are the things that are going to hold us down. Those things, no matter how big or how small they are, if you don't talk about them, somebody's hurting from that thing. Even if it didn't happen to me, I saw it happen. I heard the adults whispering about it. I heard the adults talking about it. But why can't we talk about it? So why is it a secret?
Mm-hmm.
Why, so those things that we don't talk about, why is grandma so secretive? Why can't we talk about it? So those things, those curses that we don't, what happens in this house stays in, those are the things that keep us like we are. And you don't talk about it, and you don't do, but nobody's healing. Nobody's getting better.
Right.
We're walking around with this blindfold on and these blinders, acting like we don't see anybody and we can't help anybody and we can't, we're stepping over each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I always call it, because I had a conversation pretty much about this with another guest. It's generational trauma and generational curses, and we that generational curse becomes traumatic, and like you said, unless we identify it, unless we pinpoint it, it will continue. And it's a circle, it's generational, so it passes from one generation to the next. That moment of not even a moment, that idea, the ideology of we have to keep it within, because if we don't, we're seen as a weaker people. And
Right.
I mean,
You know,
why?
and
I mean, who does that? I mean, but
right, right,
we do, and it's sad, especially it affects, all of us, whether female or male. Most of the time, it's female, because there's so many things we have to keep in, for our male counterparts, and us as females, that we have to keep it in. But at the same
right,
time, our brothers, they keep in a lot. They do a lot. They keep in a lot, and it's like, who do they turn to? If I
right.
seek out help, I'm crazy, or you know, um,
I'm with you.
I'm seeing weaker male. No, and once again, that curse becomes traumatic, and that traumatic situation, a lot of times, they wind up in prison. And because help is not given, or it's
Right,
ignored, and
right,
it continues, which is
right,
really, really sad.
right, right. Yeah. And
So
like you said, and then it's generational. You look at these families and you can just see, you can see, or you think about when you were growing up and you like, yeah, I know that family that lived on the corner, and you think about the whole family. It's generational.
hmm
Yeah, it's
yeah,
generational. So, at some point, somebody has to say, yes, this has to change. Either we're going to stop doing this or we're going to talk about this, but something has to change.
yeah,
You
and
know,
and then it's having the conversation. That's the start. Once you have the conversation, once you admit it, once it's out there, then the help comes, because now
right,
you're having the conversation, you're able to seek help, you're able to find the people who can actually help you, instead of hiding from your problems and deciding that other people's problems are better, or that yours is going to go away, or trying
right,
to mask it with using drugs, or whatever the case may be. To Once again, when the high comes down, your problem is still there. And that's
right,
the mentality. I'll smoke it out, snort it out, needle it out. But once again, when the high comes down, the problem is still there.
right. You just broke now. You just broke. Yeah,
Pretty
right,
much.
right,
So I mean, and like I said, it's sad. It's really, really sad. So I'm glad that you're able to kind of connect there, and expose people to what is available. Especially from the free world into the prison system, because
right,
that's important. Because when you look at the free world being us, and then looking at the institutionalization of a people, there is that miscommunication.
right,
It's not available because they weren't taught, which means that if you weren't taught and you didn't investigate it, nobody else investigated, there goes that sentence. I didn't know.
right,
It's
right,
out there. Why didn't you know? Because
right,
no one bothered to investigate it.
right,
So,
right.
very good. Um, if you could write any other types of books, what would you write?
Um, I don't know. I think um this is this is me. Um, I don't know. I like I don't know.
But this is your jam, and you
Yeah,
got it. That's what matters. So
yeah,
just like that's what you're sticking to. And
right,
obviously there's nothing wrong with that. There's so many different types of authors out there. And some people love the love stories and the novels and the short stories and the literary, non whatever, fiction, nonfiction, reality. the hardcore reality of what is going on and how to help people. And that's what you know, that's what you stick to. I think it's amazing. Like I said, it's great.
Yeah, I don't think I know anything else as well as like this is my like I said, my degrees are in psychology, but like probably substance abuse. Like I probably the only thing I know more than criminal justice, I probably know criminal justice better than psychology actually. But only thing I know more than criminal justice is substance abuse. And I think the two probably go hand in hand. But like substance abuse, it's so funny. I can hear my best friend in my head. But substance abuse and criminal justice, that's my thing. Like, that's me all day. I can you give me talking criminal justice, substance abuse, that type thing. That's that's me all day.
There you go. Well, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing because obviously it's needed. Because as we know, we don't read to understand. We don't know the rules. We need an advocate in the corner to say, this is what you should know. This is what you need to read. This is what you need to understand to educate yourself to understanding how to be a better person in our society, to understand how to be better for yourself, you know, and that's important, how to be better for yourself, to uplift yourself and know this is in place, this is in place, and these are the people who are out there that can help assist you. So kudos, very good. How can our viewers get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of the book? What can they do?
The book is on Amazon. Again, the book is called Seeds in the Mud. Um, and there's a little interesting tidbit in the back of the book that explains why that title. Seeds in the Mud.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too. I was going to
yeah, so a seed in the mud. You know, people always often ask now. Often ask like, "What is your spirit animal?" or something to that effect. Spirit animal or something. I don't have a spirit animal, but I think my spirit thing may be the lotus flower. The lotus flower is a flower that blooms like in Asia or China or somewhere. Anyway, it you can drop it. It grows like in these ponds. You always see like these ponds, koi ponds or whatever. They're muddy and whatever. And the seeds in mud, they drop them in the mud. It's like just mud, water and mud, and they bloom in the mud. But even if, say, at night, if they're about to bloom, they'll the flower will just lay dormant right under the water until the sun comes out. And say if it's, I don't know, winter and the sun doesn't come out the next day because it's winter and it's snowing, it'll just lay dormant under the surface of the water until the sun comes out. When the sun comes out, this flower will bloom over the surface of the water. It won't bloom under the water. It comes up over the surface of the water, just big, beautiful flower. Not a drop or a speck of mud will be on this flower. And that it just likens to the human experience of you can go through so much, or criminals, you can go through all those experiences. You can be in the mud, you can be under the water, but you can come through that. You don't have to, people will hold you down. You can go through all of that. Your parents can be crap, your wife, baby mama, whoever, whatever. You can come through it. It's about what you know, those experiences, it's about stay under the water. We all have bad days. We have days. I lay in the bed and don't want to get up some days. Stay in the water. But one day you're gonna have to get up. One day you're gonna have to bloom. One day you're gonna have to come to the surface of the water. So whenever, shake the mud off, bloom, walk on.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So, you know, read the book, learn your rights, shake it off, rock on. We've all been there. You know,
Okay.
we may not have been in jail, we may not, but everybody goes through something. Everybody does. So whatever your something is, shake it off. When you see whatever your son is, we all have a, metaphoric sun. We all have the metaphoric mud. Shake it off and boom.
There you go. I really like that. That was awesome. Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted you. We can get it on Amazon. Where else? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's just on Amazon right now. So this is the first book again. So it's on Amazon. You get the book on Amazon. For me, I'm on Facebook as Nadia Brown Davis, author. Nadia Brown Davis dash author. That's my Facebook. And on Instagram, because I am a mental health, and that's me, mental health professional. It's post like POST underscore the number 2 and letter B underscore healed, which is post to be healed. Because I post a lot of positive things, like the lotus flower, what that means, blah, blah, blah. So it's post to be healed. Post underscore to be underscore healed. So you won't see anything negative on my page. It's just the most positive things because it's post to be healed.
There you go. Very good. Very good. So Facebook, Amazon, and under Amazon, do they search for the title or do they search for you?
Amazon, it is just Seeds in the Mud.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, as we wrap up this session, I want to say thank you to Miss Nadia. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you. We'll see also more of Nadia in our upcoming holiday edition of We Magazine. So don't forget to check that out on Issue. It's coming up in December. So I'm looking forward to having her in the magazine. I am the vice president of the magazine, so I'm really super excited to continue our journey of working together. And once again, thank you, Dr. Moore, for allowing me to be your guest host for More Television Network. And we are going to say we're out. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, viewers and listeners. And until next time, be blessed, stay positive, mask up, and be safe.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Have a great day.